Thanks for dropping by and returning to the old world. Or, perhaps more correctly, the grim, far future. Yes, today we're talking about Warhammer 40,000 and why the rumours around the release of 10th edition, they're just leaving me feel a little cold. So, you've probably been aware for a while that there's been some rumours circulating that Warhammer 40,000 was its 10th edition this year. It's now been a leak, which suggests that release will be happening in June. Now, Warhammer 40,000, as much as I'm excited about fantasy, it's 40k that I play most often. I don't get the opportunity to play as often as I'd like, but it is the game that I get out on the tabletop. So I do have an interest in what's coming around the major rules releases. And the more I think about it, the more I just can't get excited for 10th edition. And there's a number of reasons why that is. Firstly, we've got the whole Arc of Omen books that are coming out. So there's going to be a series of, I think, 5 books is the predicted number, which will bridge the gap from 9th into 10th and help advance the storyline into the direction travel Games Workshop want to take it into. Now, I, after a number of years out, started to take an interest in Warhammer 40,000 at the end of 8th, so I was very much contemplating buying into the game when 9th dropped. And what I sort of came across with the Psychic books that came out around that time was there's a lot of books out there introducing new rules or new ways of playing, things like that, that actually had a really limited shelf life. And I'm not going to drag on about cost so much in this video because it's an easy known to make, but you were spending a lot of money on quite thin books with not a lot of content that didn't have a very long shelf life. They weren't usable for all that long. And I'm concerned that the Arc of Omen will be the same, that we're going to have a load of stuff thrust at us over the next few months that actually isn't going to see the light of day for very long, isn't going to be particularly useful going forward, so not really a good use of the spending power. What else is it about 10th edition? Well, we don't know exactly yet, but there's the potential for some fairly significant rule changes, and this will have quite an impact on army and unit selection. Obviously, strong units now could get weak, units that are fun to play with now could become tedious, stuff that's rubbish could become overpowered, who knows? But knowing that it's likely in the next 4 months or so we're going to see a new edition of the game, any enthusiasm I've got to add to my collection to get new models on ready for the tabletop is feeling really diminished. I don't really feel the excitement then to collect stuff, which is a big part of the hobby for me. Again, until we really know what 10th is going to be all about, that kind of put a dampener on that aspect. There is an advantage, I suppose. It allows me to concentrate on other projects which aren't going to be affected, but overall, yeah, I'm, let's say, slightly nervous around investing into a time of change. The summer release does have an impact on Warhammer the Old World, so that, as I said, is the game I'm excited for. I really want to get into that. I'm hoping a local scene develops where I am. Be disappointed if it doesn't, but obviously a big release in the summer. It's been feared for a while, but now it looks like that's happening. It does mean that any chance of a Warhammer release this side of late autumn is probably unlikely, which is a shame. But you know, there you go. It's something else we've got to work with. Coming back to the issues itself with Warhammer 40,000, I think one of the places we've kind of got to now with 9th edition is the game has kind of settled into a reasonably balanced state, and there aren't armies that are so ridiculously good and so ridiculously bad anymore. Yes, the balance isn't perfect, but it's in a lot better place than it's been for quite a long time. So now we enter a period of change, and that will disrupt the meta once more. And of course, the bigger the changes they make to the rules, the more scrabbling around will have to be done to make sure that the armies retain a sense of balance. And I think there's a real risk with 10th edition that in making tweaks to the game, that the baby gets thrown out with the bathwater. Now, this isn't to say at all that I think 9th is the perfect game. It absolutely isn't. There's far too much going on. There's far too many gotcha moments with strategies combined with special rules and all the rest of it. So I would absolutely welcome that being thinned down. But I am mindful of the unintended consequences. And it's those unintended consequences that just give me that momentary pause, particularly as we've seen over the last year or so, Games Workshop haven't done a great job of balancing new releases. And codices have seen huge changes within a few months, or in the case of the League of Votann, before they even get properly released, because the balancing just wasn't done properly. My final thought on this topic really is around the marketing when it comes to 10th edition and what I'm expecting to see, and that is an awful lot of FOMO. So we saw this when 9th came out with the Indomitus box, buy it now, before it's gone. A lot of people were left disappointed. Yes, it did lead to made to order and another chance to get hold of the box, albeit sometime later, which was, I think, good of Games Workshop actually to react in that way and to realise that they had left a lot of people disappointed. But that short time offer, buy it now, or it could be months, all this sort of stuff, new products being forced down our throat and trying to get people to buy stuff through a sense of urgency rather than because they really want the product is really dangerous, particularly when we're talking lots of money in a landscape where we've got a cost of living crisis. So if they do go down that route, it'll be quite a shame, but I do expect them to be foisting a lot of FOMO on us. Are there some advantages to a 10th edition coming out? Yes, absolutely. I do want to acknowledge that, but I'm just not feeling excited for it. Maybe that will change as the months tick by and we get a bit closer to release. But as it stands, I could care less, but I could care an awful lot more. What are your thoughts? Are you excited? Do you have concerns? Let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, thank you very much for listening. If you enjoy listening to my thoughts around this and Warhammer Fantasy, do consider dropping a subscribe. Otherwise, I'm returned to the old world. Have a great day.